Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. Much love going out to all of the beautiful empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that is to go into more depth about a female psychopath trait. When we talk about a female psychopath, we're talking about someone that looks like an ordinary woman, but underneath there's something in the interior that isn't readily apparent. A female psychopath, by virtue of this term, I really want to sort of give you some traits that you can identify. And furthermore, there's sort of a real insidious and hurtful and harmful nature about this type of person. The starlet, the person who seems to be the center of attention. However, they're always a leg up, and I'm going to go into a little bit more of the traits. Number one is sort of the lack of consciousness, meaning lack of a sense of empathy, warmth, consideration, concern, heartfelt presence that you will experience on the exterior of a female psychopath, which means there's a cold and come hither stare that seems to draw people in. It's there, and I just sort of want to go about the traits. So the traits, namely, when someone has a lack of conscience, meaning they don't have any sense of remorse, guilt, or wrong. They don't feel in their gut that they've ever betrayed or hurt somebody. They feel that they have a right to violate others because of this lack of empathy. Nothing is in their way. They don't have any brakes on the car, so to speak, if they're going after what they want. So the female psychopath does not tolerate obstacles. They can have a very sort of come hither appearance, which means and I want to sort of go into the eyes, the piercing eyes, the eyes that seem to seduce, draw you in. You cannot extract or pull yourself away from. The kind of look that seems to be looking right at you, meaning the piercing gaze. That there's my big amethyst. There's something in the eyes. There's something in the eyes that are sort of honing in, and you don't really sort of recognize it in the lineup. You might just say, "Oh, this woman has beautiful eyes," or "This woman is so attractive. I feel so good next to her. I want to be around this person. I just don't want to pull myself away. They're the answer to my life struggles. They're the answer to my feeling desirable as a man. They're the answer to what I need in my home." So there's this feeling in the eyes of a psychopath gaze or glare that is sort of feeling that is magnetic in nature, meaning magnetic. If you've ever seen like iron and steel, the iron will draw the steel to it. There's a law of magnetic attraction. So there's this same magnetic feeling, I would say, in the gaze, in the eyes, the looks that could kill. You hear these sort of terms that describe things, and sometimes it's done in sort of in a film nature, or a strong character. What is this person doing? And they arouse suspicion. So namely in the eyes, when we look at the traits, it's sort of like you don't own your own reality in the way that they have this encompassing gaze. So it's a seduction. A lot of men enjoy being seduced. It's just part of their wiring. And a female psychopath will exploit this and basically disarm your own control, the target's control over their own attraction, communication. it becomes sort of a new reality when you're with this person. It can give you a lot of relief. A lot of this person almost seems to be like a drug in their eyes. You feel that you've met something inexplicable, and the men are just feeling like they've just won the lottery. They, all of a sudden they feel a answer to their prayers. They feel desirable for once. They feel manly for once. They feel lovable for once. They feel effective for once. So there's a lot of this, I would say, for once experience that the target will absorb, or is a sort of interaction. So when we talk about the gaze, and we talk about someone who is a female psychopath, this sort of drawing you in, and if you look at the experience, it sort of takes people off of your feet. It sweeps you off of your feet. I would do anything for this woman. And there's some very healthy relationships where this is a balanced emotion, where there's control. Each person is sort of independent and they work well together. They don't grind each other down. They do the dance of love, the dance of life. And this is much different, though, from the seduction, the piercing eyes that draw you in. A female psychopath trait is namely the eyes, meaning there's a sort of coldness behind them, a lack of blinking, sort of a stare that doesn't move. It's a stare down, but for a lot of people, it feels comforting. That's the whole sort of ammunition that a psychopath will do. They'll use that to entice their victim. If we look again like a magnet and steel, so the steel does not have any control. Once it's around the magnet, once it's within a certain proximity, it just goes right to it. And depending on the strength of that magnet, it can be hard to pull away. So that magnet, of course, is running a lot of the electric cars now. But as you understand in that analogy, that attraction, oh, I felt attractive for, and there's this sort of diving in, not looking back. I'm all in. And sometimes this can be with like reckless abandon, or all of a sudden very immediate, this disarming gaze. But what you don't realize is you're unlocking the house to all the goods. You're opening up and losing your, here's your personal power, which means a lot of people don't recognize that they have any of such until it's taken away, or until it's sort of robbed, or in a very, what a lot of people would say, in a very vampire-esque way, meaning sort of sucking it out of you. And that's their satiation. But I really want to get into this gaze, because a lot of people, I think, initially are drawn to this and they don't know what to make of it. Is it competitive? Is it aggression? And so even though the person can be seated, the eyes can have an aggression. The aggression that elicits high risk behavior, violation of boundaries without really sort of a concern or care for what happens to that person who is targeted or scoped. And yes, they do sort of target specific people that are low-hanging fruit, very much like the cherry on a branch. They're just gonna grab it, an easy grab, an easy catch, an easy score, to satisfy the needs of a female psychopath. And so what you need to understand is a lot of people are in that, sort of attraction. They feel that they can't get away, or they don't have control over their own centering, vision, senses, and sort of things run away with them. And this is very scary. When a female psychopath is sort of grooming their prey, drawing them in, they're the center of attention. They can be very good looking. The eyes, though, can have this sort of strength, and it can be sort of felt that they are a leader, a strong woman, very strong sex appeal, sexuality oozing from them. Okay, this is not great if this is, a mother figure, a sister, a boss, a teacher, someone at a grocery store, someone, in your walk of life, a priest or priestess, or, whatever sort of career choice. You can find these people, but namely that you'll find them really in places that they can utilize this as a strength. To get what they want, and namely to leave others sort of numb and scared and paranoid. It's sort of I would say it's an after effect of the way that these women can draw forth, attract, and disarm, sort of put their own poison in. What is the poison? Namely that of that attraction that we were speaking of earlier. That steel is automatically, by its very nature, there's a law of attraction, just like the law of gravity. If you were to pick up something, like this apophyllite stone here, and drop it, that's the law of gravity. And we must understand that in chemistry within people, there's also a law of attraction. There's also an attraction, which can be more stormy, not bringing you the calm balance that a healthy relationship would exemplify. So coming back to the traits, is this sort of, they've got a leg up. There's something about them, seductive, sinusoidal, sort of, they've got that slithery appeal, smooth as silk. A head turner, someone who walks by and you want to get to know them better, or they seem that they sort of emit the energy, you need to know me, you need to get to know me, or there's something very special about this person that will sort of ring out to the people who they target. And who they target are people who they need something from, or if you're an obstacle, is to sort of use you as a prop, a display, a sort of situation, a stepping stone to get them from one place to another. And if it means making sure you don't get the job, making sure that you don't attend the meeting, whatever, making sure that you can't focus, concentrate, just have an experience of life that is comfortable within one's own skin, is sort of the circle that a female psychopath will create. There was a band called the Circle Jerk, and that sort of kind of came up to me, and I was wondering what that was. So these females are sort of keep others in a cycle of sort of satisfying a sort of very existential and I would say extreme pleasure for their people, men and women who they target, which means, oh boy, I should be so lucky to be around this person. And sort of that attraction, the female psychopath knows that they can then sort of paralyze and use their victims in a parasitic nature. So there's a parasitic nature is another trait. Beyond the gaze, the lack of consciousness, the parasitic nature, which means they will use others and discard them along the way. There is no permanency of values relationship. There is a dangerousness about these people in your professional circles, the people who want to take over your contracts. Oops, I didn't see the loophole. That you were, and then they're funneling out money, information, bank accounts, access to whatever it is, property, valuables. They're a parasitic nature. What does this look like? The kind of person that knows that they need in the workplace. that they need to get ahead. So usually, there would be a sort of a femininity about a person, even if they're a strong lawyer, business person, teacher. There's a certain respect that someone who has worked their way, that will, a sort of professional etiquette that people who are in that field will know, an etiquette, a way of presenting, a way of being. And I remember studying this when I first got out of college, and I was needing to know about like the business card, like when do you give your business card? And do I present it in the beginning? What is the etiquette, and then different cultures. So, and I had in depth studied the Japanese culture and the language, the writing, the literature in translation. So they're a very old society, but they have really developed in a lot of ways in terms of their ideology and how they look at respect and how they look at sort of family structure, business structure. It's very different than in America. But namely is that of etiquette. So you kind of know what the rules are. You hand your business card. You read it. You present it so it's easy for the person to read. You just don't stuff it away and go, let's get down to business. You read it. You read the person's title. Then I was in the President's Club, so it's kind of important on my business card that it said President's Club. It signified that I had attained, a top in my field. So, and that was not done by aggression. That was done by hard work and visualization and some other tools, but namely that of etiquette. So you learn to succeed by having etiquette, how to treat a man, how to treat a woman, and back and forth. And so that etiquette sort of goes out the window when you're with a female psychopath. Things that you might have worked for, things that you might thought were a protocol, policy, how a man should be. All of a sudden, there are no rules anymore. It's all victory. It's all sexual victory. It's all fun and fantasy. It's, long nights, long days, skipping this, skipping that. Responsibilities, meaning the person who has a core or work for something in their life. To a female psychopath, that's a very attractive quality, to sort of take their emotional arrow and sort of hit you where it's going to hurt, where you have a strength of good qualities. So they like to target those people who see the good in people, maybe who have been traumatized, who have sort of a neediness, and they realize these people have a certain lack about them, that they have certain voids, holes, almost like a sponge. And the psychopath will go, oh, I can fill all those nooks and crannies, and I will be this and this to that person. And unfortunately, that's where sort of an internal combustion sort of takes place, if you will. It's a different sort of a different sort of connection, meaning it's going to feel really high caliber, existentially, high risk taking, meaning that this woman is bold, brazen, has respect of whatever, because either of their past or what they sort of they will have a sad story. There'll be something in their gaze, and then a story which will cause that attraction, that natural attraction, a sob story. My previous husband, and then the man is there going, oh my gosh, I'm a much better guy. I can do better. I'm a much better worker. I can't believe that. And then that guy is going, oh, I'll take care of you in business. I'll take care of you in love. Then that female psychopath has just gotten a commitment from their target, meaning you can satisfy specific self-actualization needs for like food, clothing, shelter, love, and then but the problem is they don't have any intention on helping you or being there for what they are promising or committing or seem. So there's a certain hit and run element to them, meaning that that the looks that can kill, sort of like, since you're not with me, you are a dumb, less than, you can't handle it, your life isn't going on. They're sort of they'll give you this sense as part of how they will disarm, is sort of give you this message that if you can't hang with this stare, that attraction, giving up control over yourself, i.e., this is not a positive, that you're then in the negative for not self-destructing. So it's a very strange chemistry that will keep their prey sort of in a paralysis, sort of not going anywhere, just like standing there as one of their toys, as one of their minions, as one of their pillows, as one of their sexual objects, conquests, food partners, food buddies, food ticket, getting me to the top, introducing me to people, giving me a place to live, and things that you wouldn't think that this person was doing based on perhaps, just how things are set up. So in other words, they can lay a fortress and make it appear as if, and have all other sort of like suitors clamoring to be behind this person. And then if this person leaves, the man or the woman is usually, well, what's wrong with me? Is sort of the question, a very dangerous question. If you set that into motion, which a female psychopath sort of leaves that ground down guilt and doubt as sort of a perpetual cycle that will grind people down from the inside. It's kind of like they leave this ticking time bomb that's just going to go off, and it's going to basically, depending on how long you've been with this person, they'll put in all these different elements of fear, doubt, paranoia, these negative, very low vibration and powerless states, in a sense disempowering others. And what does it feel like? So to know these states and to sort of identify it, you have to know what empowered feels like, which means standing in your self-respect, and self-esteem, versus knowing what it feels like when you're not in self-respect, when you're not in focus, when you're in sort of your own internal life flow. So people who have been previously traumatized or have been around these people for a lifetime, oftentimes there's that insidious sort of ultra reality that makes you feel like there's always something sort of hooked, tugging, or attached to. So somewhat like that steel, iron and steel, that you're powerless to let go. Or if you do let go, if you do move on, that you can't ever have attraction, make it, you're not attractive, you're not lovable, all sorts of other, I would say, secondhand emotions that are dispersed by the predetermined and premeditated way of treating this person. The way of treating this person, business, family, love relationships, namely, is to sort of, I would say, leave the other in a defeated nature. So this high risk behavior, which they are comfortable with, most people would go, this doesn't seem right, this is wrong, and they will slowly seduce people to sort of violate or break their own laws, boundaries. Oh, don't worry about it. And their body behavior will sort of draw people in, and they will use body language to sort of signal things, sort of the way, sort of spell things out, if you will. Their energy that emits from them can create sort of a different reality, if you will, meaning one where a lot of things are going on, spinning around. That circle jerk seems to be a lot going on or the place to be. And if you don't have any, it doesn't sort of hit that same epiphany. It doesn't hit that same fear. It doesn't hit that same existential doubt, that a female psychopath will create in their victims when they're basically done, not with them, throwing them out, ready to move on. And most people would say, well, how can a woman be so detached from this man right away, or so detached from their children, so detached from their job, so detached that, that they would do this? Well, it's because they in their amygdala, which is the center of sort of the fear and arousal, the fight or flight. These women, if you look in studies, they don't have the same activity. Their amygdala is shrunken. Okay, they don't experience fear. So they just sort of desire power. It's a very different type of woman. And others they sort of devour, and that's not sort of fun. A lot of men, I think in the beginning, they enjoy being devoured. They enjoy this woman just giving them the juice, the life, the love, the fantasy, nothing else. But what they're doing is they're removing sort of the self-generating efficacy of those people because of their way that they communicate in a hypersexualized manner. And unless you've been really around this type of person, you don't know the way things can get out of control. The chaos, the internal brewing of these emotions that literally take people out of control. They will do things that they would not ordinarily be doing. A man would not ordinarily be breaking his 401k to give it to this woman to help with their children, their business, or a travel, or some other sort of thing. Someone who doesn't normally smoke, all of a sudden a guy feels like they got to start picking up a cigarette, and they're like, I don't know, and this is, and that you can literally, depending on how strong, your body will then be running the show. This is a very, very frightening, and if it's been hypersexualized, then it can lead to a hypersexualization or hyperarousal in their victims. Hyper aroused, hyper seduced, hyper manipulated, hyper sexualized, meaning there's too much going on. There's too much, as people have, clients have told me, too much rubbing going on. If they are a child, an infant, this is known as sexual abuse. These people are female intra-species predator, their own children, their own neighbors' children. This is how they move through life. They're just sort of like a plow. They just sort of go through it. They're in their own direction. They're in their own lane. They will take what they need, and you wouldn't ever expect that a woman would do this to their children, to their man, to another, because a woman is supposed to be nurturing, caring, motherly, feminine, the quote unquote less strong sex, you open the door for them. I mean, we're not talking about, all that, but, there are certain standards. A woman can wear a dress. Things have changed now. Men wear dresses. Men are getting sex changes. Women are getting sex changes. There's transgender more and more nowadays. The line is getting blurred. Okay, but, what do you need to make your problem? You don't need to make anything your problem. You do not need to make anything your problem. The female psychopath and the hyperarousal, we could do a video just on that, where they, you have to understand that is a documentable, verifiable medical condition. So for, a female psychopath will over seduce, over sexualize. So it's that part of the libido, the sexual drive. It has to be in balanced power, everything in moderation. Don't, that's something that you want to tame the dragon, the life force, the chi. There's all sorts of meditation about this. But, someone who is hypersexualized, you don't want that energy running away with you. Lust, desire, passion, all these, you think very potent and powerful feelings that's like a wand that, they will give you. But on the flip side, there's something very disorganizing, very chaotic, and very life, sort of creating a barrenness out of that person's life if they try to succeed and get away with it. Violation of boundaries, meaning harass behavior, with a mother figure, okay, with a child, boundaries, okay, a mother taking care. If you have a mother psychopath, there's not that gaze. The children are going to be trying to coo and let's make a song and let's just, if you're a baby, you're just you're looking at your mother and you're wanting that smile back, and the mother's like, oh my gosh, you're smiling, coop tickle. The female psychopath, they have a blank stare. Baby's going, ooh, cuckoo, is that my mommy? I love my mommy. And the psychopath's just looking at it like, what can I do with this baby? What can I do? What can I experiment with? What can I see what happens? So the child becomes kind of like an experiment of the ends, of the psychopath. So whatever it is, they're in their mind, sort of divorcing themselves of really truly what they should be. They can pretend, put on an act as if, but there's something in the emotional chemistry. When we're talking and going back about that female gaze and the psychopath, a cold eye to a baby. They lack the mirror neurons. They lack empathy. They lack, we're talking about neurophysiological, neurohormonal, structural differences in the anatomy, in the brain, in the physiology of these women. Even though they can be just famous, starlets, just champions of certain causes, the Tiger King lady, I don't know, all these different people who can seem like they're saving the planet, you find out these things and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that a human being would be capable of this. You don't resonate with that coldness. That is danger knocking. Okay, that is beyond danger. This is beyond fearful. This is beyond terrorizing. What they create sort of within their subjects can take months and years, and even decades for some people to detox from. So just circling back, because I want you to sort of understand if we're going to go this long, how long should we go? Do we go an hour? I kind of like delving in deep here, and because there's a certain connectivity, there's a certain what do I want for the viewers? There's a certain connection. There's a certain congruity, congruent, that I want you to arrive at within, so that you can get there and see these things. But it's very difficult to sort of extract yourself. It's like an extraction. It feels this way. A female psychopath to their children, another trait is that they lack empathy. They lack the mirror neurons that sort of are going back and forth. That baby's, play with me, smiling, that should be great fun for a parent, they're giggling, they're tickling. I mean, what could be better? They're crawling for their mom, trying to giggle, to make the biggest smile when they see their mom. They have separation anxiety. The mom could not care a bit. They could not care a bit. You see these people in the grocery. You see these people in your work, you see these people shopping, these people who have their kids in their cart. Kids need stimulating, toys, conversation, acknowledgement. I mean, the parents might as well just be throwing stuff over their kids. They are ignoring them. Oh, look at this, look at that. Ooh, ah. And the kids just like sitting there like, ignored, and they start playing with the cart. They have no toys, no warm thing, no teddy bear, no kisses, no hug. They're just basically playing with the cart. This is not good child raising, and then giving the child chocolate at 10 in the morning. I about flipped my gasket seeing this. A mother just ignoring their child. Of course, the kid is a child, maybe 2 or 3, they start squirming. Hey, guess what? Children do not like to be, doing adult things. They just don't get it. They don't get that they have to go shopping. They know that they need to play. They need to discover. Oh, look at this wheel go. Look at this fire truck. Look at this fire engine. They need to have discovery. They need to be talked to. They need to have explained things. They don't need to be controlled and manipulated. Squirming, getting mad at them for being a human being. Why are you crying? Why are you squiggling? Smack them. Do you want some chocolate? I about flipped my gasket when I saw this female doing this said thing. Okay, shopping, and I'm not here to diagnose, but I am telling you, 10:30 in the morning, picking up some things that were needed. I'll give you some chocolate. Chocolate? You're giving this kid sugar, something that's going to have them bouncing off the walls. Getting in that, not able to focus, then probably that kid's going to crash. You're going to get them out of the way, put them in for a nap. Day after day after day, that child does not get attended to in the way that they need. Why is this person such a crybaby? Violating, these are, there's sort of a number of ways so that people don't see. The over arousal, in getting people sort of out of control. How do you do that to a young child? Baby's cooing kind. What if that mother does not smile at the child? Does not give back what the child needs, does not reciprocate. That child then is going goo goo gaga. Nobody's here. There's no eye contact. I mean, you'll see a child, they'll try to crawl to a TV and stare into it to see if they can see something. They're still making out figures. All they see is a figure above them, and they know that this person is bringing food, warmth, sleep, shelter. But what if this then is taken advantage of? What does this look like? This is not good. This is scary, scary, dangerous stuff. It can send people off the rails, starting in their childhood, starting in their infancy, starting as a toddler, doing their diapers, too much rubbing going on, okay? Seeing how a child squirms, see if they move, see what happens. This is not, taking advantage of a child. Their hunger, their natural states, their hunger, not feeding them. They're crying, not feeding them. They are needing attention, ignoring them, letting them sit there, and then telling, just according to convenience. So, the child then will develop sort of this void, a void of connection, specifically with the mother. And they will have like an empty cup and always feel like a beggar, and then look for places where they can either over mother or, like over mother, or sort of do things. It can distort and pervert the female. And then it can create a setup for these people to be victimized, sexualized, finding jobs in sex occupations, finding jobs in those sort of, violate your boundaries or be violated, their identity then becomes one of fear. The amygdala in their target then overdevelops, and they're living in this fear, which oftentimes doesn't have an answer. Oh, the circle jerk is coming back, meaning they'll set you on sort of instead of like a trajectory of life or personal growth, it's a circle around and around where you can't grow, and the same questions are being asked but not answered. So there is no closure. There is only wonder. There is only uncertainty, and there's only doubt. And fear, sort of all mixed in, is sort of like it creates sort of like I just want to say sort of a thud or a weight that is there within that person that doesn't ever leave them. It's kind of like those people who have been in Auschwitz, and they think they just celebrated a 85th anniversary, I think, of closing of that place, and they have survivors, those children who were born into construction, who were forced labor as children, wearing prisoner jumpsuits, just with picks, with shovels, just no smile, dirty. Those kids were let free, and oftentimes they were tattooed. They had, they were basically taken into custody. It's a similar sort of feeling, like your love is taken into custody. And it doesn't always have a resolve because of that enigmatic mystery that a psychopath will sort of utilize, and it keeps sort of a question unanswered going, especially like why, and then where do I stop, where do I start, where's my self-respect, and where's my non-violation energy. So I'm not carrying around a victim mentality, which can come as a result of, or these long droughts of other relationships after. The body then begins to run the show. I would say with a female psychopath, because of their high risk behavior, high sexualized behavior, you name it. They'll, here's the parking lot, let me do this. Here's the workplace, let me do this. Here's your house with your family, let me do this. Here's a public space, let me violate you. And the man is like, oh wow, this is our, but they don't realize that the woman is sort of eroding their inner I am. They're getting this sort of hyper arousal going inside, which is an inorganic, basically fear and attraction, which should not overrun. It'll basically burn and fry out sort of this hyper arousal. Will need eventually to be made in check, and found in check once found out of check. So yeah, that in a sort of a delirium then that people are sort of become addicted to, or that no other sort of, there's and it creates a sort of thinking as a result in their victim, which sees things according through the lens of the female psychopath. They're like, here, put on these glasses, see things this way, and they want you to see things differently. Hyper arousal, so that they're able to seduce and get you into a situation where you're always thinking about them, never thinking about yourself, your life, your growth. It's sort of that circle, a cycle that ends up getting really deeply grooved, and it becomes a real rut, which means if you're thinking the same thoughts, Dr. Joe Dispenza, the same feelings, same emotions, you're going to be getting the same. And they kind of know that, and they kind of will say, oh, well, that person just couldn't figure it out. They have the problem. And so that they will leave people with the body running the show, meaning that hyper arousal, hyper sexualizing the target's body, not giving them eye contact, always communicating to them with sexual positions, never talking to the kids, always bending over, in the workplace, inappropriate dress. Why are we always having this sticking out or that sticking out? If you're living with them, same thing. Why are you always looking at their back end, the back of their head? Why isn't there any eye contact? They're giving you something while not giving you something else, which is more important. This is not, a lot of people do not understand the feeling, the experience that is beset unto others, that a female psychopath will sort of soak and pre-soak other people in. It's a way to sort of help people self-destruct from the inside out, if you will. But not if you can catch it. Not if you can say, I don't think so. Enough is enough. This is not right. And you expose them. And you now see them for who they are. And oftentimes that will be the first thing that sets you thinking, oh my gosh, person is a female psychopath. And you're having to figure this out. You're having to detox. You're having to reset your thinking. Getting out of that rut. Okay, if it might not have started, it might not have created overnight, but we need results. Freeing yourself up, realizing that is what they perpetuate. You deserve better. Don't worry about it. You deserve a real teacher. You deserve a real boss. You deserve a real leader. You deserve a real friend. You deserve a real mother. You deserve that, okay? And you are worthy of that. If you have had this experience, it's kind of like an emotional frostbite. Part of you might go into those rut-like behaviors. You have to pull yourself out. How do you do this? There's an internal reset that needs to be made. When the body is running the show, that means, you're hangry. Your body is sort of driving the behavior, and you're not in alignment the way that you should be, sort of in control or on top of yourself, able to make sense of things, experience something called repose, relaxing. Repose, which means you're able to inhabit the present moment and not feel scared, uncomfortable, uncertain, worried, overanalyzing, looking at things, or otherwise sort of feeling uncomfortable in an uncomfortable body. It has to be reset. It has to be reset. Gaining repose, which means being in the skin that you're in. And realizing, the extent of the cause that has created this effect in your life. So the cause, you have to recognize, could be outside of you. At this very moment, it is outside of you and not within. The cause, if you meet this type of individual or have an experience, it's not generally a relationship. It's very difficult because it doesn't really qualify. If you think of a relatability, meaning, there's a two-way street. There is no two-way street here. A two-way street would be fair. You have shared terms, shared truth, honesty, being honest with yourself. These are qualities that inhabit trust. And they sort of, they take this away, this very important human experience of trust, of in God we trust. Trust, meaning if you have trust, which means you have certainty that you're not going to be betrayed, hurt, wounded, stabbed, divorced, cheated on, have someone else backstab. And so this very much is like a predatory behavior. And so you can, people who are in that rut or feeling isolated or are otherwise stuck, you must realize that a female psychopath is like a cause that creates an effect in the environment. So very much the same way of the way that a chair creates an environment. This entity, you have to experience to sort of get a separation from this individual and get that pull away. And a perspective, once you can get a perspective that is not just all in your head, but a perspective where you're in alignment, meaning your whole body, you feel it. You feel that you are not comfortable with a specific situation, and being able to put your foot down and say that this is a truth and have it a two-way street and have that verified. Oftentimes that very experience of having your truth verified is missing if you have been in a relationship or targeted, seduced, etc., from a female psychopath. There is that feeling, a loss, sort of once the loss of control has been there, it's sort of in one's past, but it does not mean it has to be your identity or identify you or who you are. For example, are you then, because of some of these off the rail experiences, saying, I am a victim, and that's your identity, your I am, I am less than, I am lacking, I am, and then addicted, and I am out of control. Is that something what you really want for your reality? A female psychopath will convince you, if you're really still steeped in it, the addiction, like basically the psychopath will be basically consuming you or relating you rather than you having a relationship. Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. He talks about the definiteness of purpose, which is required to be on sort of your right path. If you want to grow, if you want to self-actualize, earn your income, have a mastermind, there are certain things that you need in life. He talks about having a mastermind, people who think like you and who can solve problems with you. This is very important so you can think and grow, and think and grow rich. But he also talks about some of the negative experiences. For example, alcohol. And when he would be at a conference or a big meeting, Napoleon Hill, influential guy, and if there were beyond 3 drinks, he would see in himself and others that the drink was drinking him. He was no longer drinking the drink. The drink was drinking him. Have you ever seen someone who is an alcoholic down liquor? Okay, it's this. Okay, they're pouring it down. It is, even if it's vodka, hard liquor. I stay away from this stuff myself. I cannot drink it. But they will pour this down, and it's because it's what the body needs. It's not what they really want, But that is sort of the feeling when you're sort of detaching, is sort of a feeling that you can't then. There is no I am for you to call your own. If that is sort of your experience, I feel in my assessment, in studying this, is that because there's that lack of validation, there's this lack of trust, and that has to be developed. No matter what your age, you can develop it. Neuroplasticity is a reality. So the traits of the female psychopath, the hyperarousal, it also creates sort of a hyper dopamine, serotonin hit within others that carves out or etches out sort of a new spot, a new corner in the brain. It's like if you study cocaine and people who take cocaine, And that substance will create a huge dopamine hit, a huge something spike with these people. And then all of a sudden, they're going crazy. Whitney Houston, God, what an incredible person, an incredible voice. I mean, just one of the greatest singers, okay, found dead in a bathtub with these sort of substances. I'm just trying to explain to you that there's an addiction that a female psychopath will create. It's an addiction. It becomes a physical need versus having a relationship where you're growing. You actually have a mother. You actually have a boss. You actually have a wife. You actually have a spouse. You actually have a friend. You actually have a sister. It's kind of like an appearance as if, which is very strange and difficult for a lot of people to understand unless you've actually seen it, witnessed it, known it, studied it, seen it in the media, seen it in real life, experienced it beyond the shadow of a doubt. So you can have some certainty that you understand what violation is and what the cause that creates the effect. A violation, just like in those cocaine addicts. So that spike, if you study it, it creates kind of like a new etch in the mind. So for example, if we want to draw this out, and we're going to go for about another 5 minutes, the way I understand it is I have studied. So if you have sort of like your activity in the brain, you know, that's normally sort of like this. I'm just trying to say normal activity. You know, it just your everyday activity. Here's my visual, my smell. You got all these mapped out. But it sort of creates a sort of a new spike, if you will, a new spike in the brain. Just like an alcoholic needs to go get a drink, just like a cocaine addict needs to go hit cocaine, this creates a craving. So that big spike, oh, I got to get back to that spike, that top spike. You know, I'm not drawing very well, but you know, that spike, when it goes way up, the brain's going, let me get back to that. There's an insatiability. When the body, and then, you know, you'll see these men going crazy. I can't live without, you know, I can't live without you. And they're like shaking, you know, and you know, and they can't stop thinking about this woman. And it's been months already, you know, and you have to realize they create that new spike in the brain that wasn't there before. And if you keep reinforcing it, then you're reinforcing the addiction. You're reinforcing sort of that neurological need to be sort of that magnet and steel. And then people, then once they pull away and they go, oh my God, you know, and they pull away, they have like emotional sea legs. Well, get sure footing and just being like, okay, WAP. You know, you need to know that then if you feel like part of you is missing, you need to sort of realize where did what is the cause, okay? Realize then that because of these elements of the traits, and this is not an extensive list. This is just something we're going through that you can identify, you know, in your world. What does a violation of boundaries mean? That you might see. So a woman who, oh yeah, we can go into this office. Yeah, we can go into this restaurant back room. Yeah, we can go over here. So like in business, yeah, it's okay if we go on this person's computer. Can I borrow your computer? You know, there's these other things, you know, where they just sort of take over things. You know, or they should be working. You find that they're somewhere on another floor chit-chatting, you know, or doing, they have no problem breaking rules. They have no problem. There's no guilt or remorse, no tinge. And then other people, I think because of this, they feel less than, less powerful, less capable, not able, disabled, undone. Stevie Nicks Stevie Nicks, Fleetwood Mac, back in the 70s, 80s, okay, Wings, wasn't that her album? Stevie Nicks, and she says, in down in the river of love, where everyone would love to drown, but now it's gone, and it doesn't matter anymore if you build a house or call it home. And she starts saying, she starts singing about this. And then she starts singing about the undoing, and the undoing, in the sea of love. She's got that great voice where everyone will love to drown, and now it's gone, and she's singing, about that. And how you kind of feel like you've lost your home, or something, or you don't have it. And sometimes it takes the undoing to get, and realize that this is a cause. It's created an effect. It isn't your identity. It isn't your destiny. It isn't your fate to be always hurting, to be always scared, to be always in this rut, to be in this cycle, to be pining for this. Neuroplasticity. You can refeed your senses, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, with that which is comforting and bringing strength and serenity to you. I talk about this in the book that I'm working on. But that trait, and to sort of leave others feeling lost, just so don't fall for it. So especially when people are younger, or they get older and they realize, okay, I see where this violation is, where this high risk behavior is, how it gave you this jolt, it gave you this feeling, it gave you this understanding. And that isn't always good. You don't need to be caught up in that sort of cycle. You do not need to prove yourself or feel that you are made less strong. You are strong. It's just that these people, that's how they corrode and corrupt. And so that doesn't lead to growth. So basically, you must then detox. You must detox from the cause that's created this effect. And you must realize then that time will help. And you need to sort of remove all traces of this, even though it seems like it's made you your home, or it made you who you are, or it made you, you owe this to them, and your identity is sort of confounded or confused. You can say, my identity is confound free. I am victim free. I am victim free, and that is okay with me. I feel victim free, and that is okay with me. I am victim free, and that is okay with me. I'm strong and I'm safe, that's okay with me. You need to sort of recultivate, regroom. What's the word I'm looking for? Recalibrate. There's something more. You need to sort of regroom into the repose of the present. And so, because they are the robbers of the present, because there's always a feeling like, and then someone's going to yell, someone's going to come in and do this, someone's going to cause the cheating, so it's just like always on guard. Is this, so realize that's the cause that creates the effect. And you can say that's not desirable. That's no longer desirable. Fear is no longer desirable. Hypersexualization is no longer desirable. Feeling like I'm chasing and running after something is no longer desirable. Constantly worrying about something or someone, that's not desirable. That's, you have to make this testimony and have more declarations yourself. I declare, I pronounce, I am certain, I know. And you need to sort of retrain, have compassion, I don't want to say recoax, but regroom, recalibrate. There's sort of a feeling of, I want to say restroke, but you have to give yourself an emotional sort of contouring, recontouring your inner self, meaning where it used to sort of jolt out of fear, you got, okay, I'm present, and there is no fear written on the wall unless you've gotten that printed on your posters, or you've still got some sort of things around that you have that still speak to you of that position. So, for example, you might have had a lot of their high heels at your house, and you still got those hanging around. Throw out whatever stuff that they have left around as a reason to come back. I left my cat, I left my shoes, I left my bracelet, I left my glasses, I left my computer, I left my notebook, my phone. They'll always find a way to help themselves to others. This is not a healthy relationship. A healthy relationship has to exist on healthy boundaries and standards, which means it's below my standards. Even if this person is beautiful, gorgeous, wealthy, powerful, they could still be below your standards. Why? Because you don't like victimizers. That's not how you roll. That's not what this family needs. That's not what this world needs. It's not what this company needs. It's okay for you to and have that inner declaration, sort of like an inner baptism, if you will, like a full of clarity, and to sort of, I don't need to go there. Been there, done that. If you had shoes, drinking shoes, chase after this woman's shoes, throw out those shoes. Get some different shoes, men and women. Did you get, what happened as a cause that created this effect? What did you do because of this? Oh, well, I needed to keep up with this woman in business, so I got 16 stilettos. I got a back surgery. I had to, what happened as a result? So look at the cause because of the effect. And realize sort of it's kind of contained within, outside of you. It's sort of contained in its own circle. And you can say, that uncomfortable feeling is because I know that I can open up and be more. So that's sort of that uncomfortable feeling that's pushing you to release that, and release meaning let go. Boing, there's a power of gravity. There's a power of emotional letting go. I no longer have my emotional hands on this. I no longer have my emotional hands on this. I no longer have my emotional heart. I've sort of pulled the reins back, and I've got myself sort of trotting along where I like it. Or maybe you need more calm. You might have missed out on a lot. I missed out on, or what I feel I missed out on was because of this. And you need to sort of go, I missed out on calm. I missed out on marriage. I missed out on my profession. I missed out on being able to take a vacation. I missed out on having kids, raising my kids, knowing my kids, having, so you have to sort of, and then sort of go, okay, but don't worry about it. Okay, and then, and instead look at the cause. The cause is outside of you. So you don't need to continue that same cycle. It's not necessary. You can see it, and you can then declare. You have to have a more declarative sort of singing from the hills sort of spirit. It's not like, oh, I'm no longer a victim. It's like, I am no longer a victim. And declare. You might need to practice this. You might need to rehearse this. You might need to write this. This is all in the book that I'm working on. You need to get this kinesthetically, meaning in the body. In the body. In the body. I am. Okay, and just feel. And just sort of, even if you can't put a word to it, what does it feel like to feel good enough and on the right path and your own stars are aligning? How does it feel when your stars are aligning and you can just sort of look up? What I want you to do to detox is every morning, This is a body hack, and I hope you follow this. Every morning in the dawn, take 10 minutes and go and look for the sun. Look for the sun, the morning sun, not in the evening, but look at the dawn. Look at the sunrise. Look at the colors, even if it's cloudy. Take 10 minutes and look at the sun every day. You don't have to greet it, you know, whatever clothes you're wearing. I want you to just sort of, and they tell you don't look direct at the sun. I'm telling you to look up, and it might hurt just to look up at the sky and look up and sort of take in as long as you can. Your eye muscles might not even be used to looking up or looking to that inspiration, looking to the light that resets your cells. There's been studies on this. And I will find the gentleman. I was listening to a podcast, McCullough, I think, that was talking about this. A gentleman, he calls it a body hack, but it's very effective to sort of rewiring that there's something that sort of a power that you are stronger than this. And that if you think it's you, there's a power within you that is stronger and greater than this hurt, this wound, that deficit. And you need to sort of take that in and not question, not name, not judge, just allow it to be the nameless. And just sort of looking up, and then sort of that sort of, you'll feel sort of like, am I recharging my cup? And even if it hurts, you know, just do what you can, even if it's 1 minute, 2 minutes. But if you do it every day with regularity, with repetition and experience, you will feel and grow stronger day by day, moment by moment, smile by smile. You got this. This is your buddy. Peace and harmony with you here today. And I hope that these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and for goodness sake, please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Peace out. Have a beautiful day. Be well and stay safe.